who you are. Go ahead.
All right, I just want to welcome everyone this evening, and just got off a plane a few hours ago, been out recruiting, so it's a very important time of the year for us to be able to do a great job of finishing up the 2019 class. And so we're really excited to be able to introduce Kalen DeBoer as our new offensive coordinator here at Indiana, and it's just been a really neat process for us to be able to go through. And once Coach DeBoer had let me know that he was considering this, and I put some feelers out with him and different individuals. That you always have a short list of guys that you have ready to go, because you never know how things may go in the future. It's kind of that way for all positions. But just an individual, known Kalen. When I first got into college coaching, my second stop was at Lambeth University, and he was at Sioux Falls at the time as the head coach, and we were both at the NAIA level, and he was they were basically the ones winning all the games and winning all the championships at our division there, and had a lot of respect for him from a distance, and got to know him through that process. And then just throughout the years, been able to stay in touch with him, and had guys that have worked with him. I've never worked with him before on the same staff, but just know the kind of man that he is. And so as you go through and you figure out, and my big objective was trying to find a guy that I could really label as the head coach of the offense. And that's what as I talked with coaches and did the process of finding the guy, I would go through and kind of start by saying that and say that's what we're looking for. And because as a defensive head coach that's been involved defensively as a D coordinator, and now with more of an overall role, but still going to be heavily involved with the defense and special teams, I wanted to be able to hire someone that I totally trusted to be able to be the head coach of that side, and to be able to run those meetings and capture those players and capture those coaches and truly do a great job of leading our offense. And so just felt like that when you look at his resume and the things that he's done, what I really did was this. I wanted to go through, and not necessarily in personality, but I wanted to be able to find myself on offense is what I was looking for. And from a leadership perspective, from a ability to go to programs and create change, the path that he's been on is similar to mine. Just to be able to, when you coach at the smaller college level, and for me it was a high school level, and as well as small college, you have to adapt to your personnel. You have to be very good at being able to not just force players into a certain system. You have to be able to take the guys you got and win with those guys. And so he's been able to do a tremendous job of going multiple places and having success, and being able to be a part of some impressive turnarounds. And it takes a special person to be able to create that kind of change. And that's what I was looking for, was to be able to get with that mindset, that talent level, to be able to do that, and then the offensive production that we were looking for. I've said it very clearly many times. We wanted to be able to be more explosive on offense, and it's about scoring points. And he's done an impressive job most recently at Fresno State. And really, when you look at offensive numbers, which those aren't really always the telltale sign of everything, but they definitely show patterns, and you're able to see a pattern of that on that side of the football. And to be able to be effective in the red zone was a big deal for me consistently, and then to be able to be efficient on third downs. This is really how you stay on the field and create those sustaining drives you have to have. And as we've always said, that there's explosive plays in the pass game and the run game, and it really does a good job of being multiple. And so just was impressed, first and foremost as a man, as a leader, and the kind of character that we're looking for that fits our staff and our guys, and then also being able to be a tremendous offensive mind that's able to take our guys. And we got a lot of talent on offense, I believe, and I like our young running backs and that room, and our receivers and our offensive linemen have good balance, and some youth and some experience, and some quarterbacks as well. And so just really find a special guy to come in here and help us be able to take us where we are and take us to another level offensively. And that's the challenge that he's been given, and just really thrilled to be able to introduce Kalen today officially as our offensive coordinator to you guys here in this press conference, and be able to take any questions you have at this time.
All right, guys, Greg, Scout, Sammy. Scout will get you.
Coach Sammy Jacobs from Hoosier Huddle. What else besides staying on the field on third down excites you about this offense and stood out to you?
Well, go through, and like I did everybody, I go through and watch, and study film, and just be able to me, it's about, it's about scoring points. I mean, at the end of the day, on defense, you got to keep them off the scoreboard, and offensively, you got to score touchdowns. And so, for them to be able to, to do that, consistently, and to be able to, utilize different personnel groupings as well, and whether it's, 10 personnel, 11 personnel, 12 personnel. I'm a big fan of tight ends. I think they create a lot of issues for us defensively, and the way he utilizes those guys has been impressive. And be able to throw the football down the field, and running the ball is always what I've, said from the very beginning is what we have to do here, and we're getting better at that. So he's obviously believes in that as well. But I just think the more than anything you go through and you watch drives and you watch. I look more for, because players make plays. Obviously he's coaching different players than you're going to have here, and so it's more about the scheme as you watch how you set things up and put defenses in conflict. And by just variations of tempo and personnel and formations and things like that. So those are what I look for when I watch film, because I know exactly how. And what I want to do is I want to watch a guy and feel like that. These things make me take notes of what we got to work this. Hey, we're going to have to worry about this. We're going to have to worry about this. And so as I go through and I watch, that's what I'm looking for. When I look for a guy that gives, the scheme gives you challenges, And so it's our job to go out and recruit players to make plays. But the scheme itself, I feel like, is something that stuck out to me, and to be able to. And also, I think too, for us, it's not. I don't want a wholesale change. I want to be able to take what we have and build off the foundation we have and get better, and have some carryover, some things, some consistencies that's not coming in with a completely, brand new system that's different than what we've been doing. So there's some carryover, but there's also unique things that he will bring and to make us better.
I think you mentioned the red zone there too. Some impressive red zone numbers last year.
Mm-hmm.
Just what needs to translate, I guess, in your mind, again, as you talk about studying an offense from a defensive perspective, where do you think you need to get better, and why do you think it is that Coach DeBoer, what he's bringing is going to really make that happen?
Well, whenever you look at the red zone, for me, and you study teams that are very good down there, they have the ability to run the football. I think that's a big variable. I think also the utilization of the tight ends, I think, is something else that helps a lot. And just being able to, within that, run, because like I said, everything I think of is, what gives us trouble and what do I not want to see defensively, and the ability to, just be so efficient in getting that ball in the end zone, not having to settle for field goals. Obviously you have to kick field goal, you take care of your business and you score your 3 points, but we all know that's you do that too often and it gets you in trouble, So, but to me, it's about being able to go through there, and he has a really good plan on the goal line. He had a good plan once he got in the red zone, and those resulted in touchdowns, and that was obviously that's everybody's goal. We're all working for that offensively, and so, but to be able to put on the film and see that done consistently against various opponents, that's obviously the challenge here. And we played a lot of really good defenses in the Big Ten, and they do a great job stopping the run, and then that core part of their defenses that are really strong in our league. And so just felt like that, proof is in the production and the ability to do that. Like I said, it kind of goes for both sides to be able to show you can, score points, score those touchdowns, and then defensively the opposite is true. And so I just think that schematically and from play calling perspective, he's done a really good job.
Coach Matt Weaver from Indiana 247 Sports. I know you said you knew him for a number of years, but now it didn't work for him. How much did you kind of rely or talk to Coach Creighton? I know I think he gave you his first college job at Wabash, and he obviously worked for him at Eastern Michigan. And how much did I know you guys are close, how much did that play into really going after Coach DeBoer for the job? Yeah,
it was a definite variable for sure, and there's other members of that staff that I know extremely well that I talk to, because when you work with somebody side by side for 3 years like they did, it really gives you a good perspective on the ability to lead that side of the football, how you handle situations during the game, when you're trying to, as Coach Creighton was trying to create and change a culture in a challenging situation and he was part of that turnaround, and really impressed by that. And it's been a great job that Coach Creighton has done up there, and Kalen was a part of that when they first got there. So just really relied on him. I trust, Chris Creighton, and know him well. And there's just certain people that when they tell you things, you just you believe it because you have been with him and you know exactly what you're looking for and the things that he values and the things that he puts a really high priority on. I do too, and so both from an offensive perspective as well as a cultural fit for us. And so that's where you get a lot of comfort in knowing that you get a guy that, even though we haven't worked together on a daily basis, you feel really good about the guys that you do know and trust that have, and feel like he's going to be a tremendous asset to our staff.
Mike Miller, Bloomington Herald-Times. Just what kind of pressure did you feel in this process, just knowing that, given where the offense been these first couple of years, just getting this hire was extremely paramount to the trajectory, the future of this program, making sure you got this hire right? I mean, just what kind of pressure did you feel like to make sure you got the right guy?
Oh, I would say that to be transparent, I think I felt a lot, because I just knew how important it was. I just felt like that where we're at as a program and starting year 3, that I knew that we had to get this right. I really appreciate everything that Mike DeBoer has done for us and the foundation that was laid, and just knew that going into year 3 that getting the right guy was going to be critical. And, obviously that every hire is important, and getting the right chemistry on your staff and that's the thing you just don't know when you hire somebody that you haven't worked with. I mean, you just don't, there's a lot of things you don't know how that's all going to fit and flow together. And so I just spent a lot of time studying, spent a lot of time praying, and just trusting to make the best decision possible for our program. And so just every big decision I make follows a similar process that I go through, and try to be extremely thorough in everything that we do here. But I just, to your point, yeah, very important hire for us, and really, really excited to be able to bring an individual of the caliber of Kalen to our program. I just feel like that he's going to be a great fit for us, and really help us take a next step offensively.
Teddy.
Teddy Bailey, Hoosier Network. Is there a plan for tight ends in terms of position coaches, or is that still being worked out?
We're still, Kalen's been here for a couple days, so matter of fact, that's the first time I've seen him here about 20 minutes ago, and when we got here from out recruiting. So we got to spend a lot of time getting that stuff squared away, and we'll figure all that out. So once it's all said and done, but yeah, I haven't made those decisions yet. I remember when I got hired as DC a few years ago, when I first got here and had this similar press conference, I wasn't sure exactly. I've coached safeties in the past, I'd coached linebackers in the past, ended up not coaching the position at all. Was the walk-around coordinator. So at that time, I don't think I knew for sure how that was going to play out either. So we'll get that all figured out, and once we get past signing day, and then start getting ready for spring ball.
Stu Jackson, Indiana Rivals. Coach, just the dramatic turnarounds that Coach DeBoer was able to make, not only at Fresno State but also at Eastern Michigan. Just what impressed you the most about the way he was able to make both of those things happen to the extent you were able to follow it from afar?
Yeah, I think that those are variables that I looked at, because I look at how do you create change? How do you go into a place that has lacked whatever, and I wasn't in those situations, but I've been in similar ones, and know that it doesn't just happen, and you have to have a plan. The players have to begin to develop a trust in you, and you have to build that trust within. The thing that too I look at is you go into a new staff, and just like he will come into our staff here, and not coming in with a whole new group of guys, but he's coming in as the new guy in charge. I've done that twice myself, and to be able to capture those guys is step number one, is the coaching staff. And so to be able to go do that, and then obviously the players, and to see just a gradual improvement, and it's systematic, and it's consistent, and you see it's a pattern of those kind of things. And so that sticks out to me. It really did, and it kind of really showed that he's the kind of guy that understands what it's going to take to come here and to help us be where we want to be in the Big Ten. A very play a challenging schedule every year, and that's not going to change, and you're going to go against those kind of opponents and opportunities, and I want a guy that is going to embrace that and has that in him, and wants that, and wants to be here, and the opportunity in this conference is what drew me here. Yes, my home, but it's the Big Ten, and that was a big deal to me, and the opportunity to be a coordinator here was a big factor in me returning to my home state. So getting the guy like Kalen to come here, and to do the same thing, and know that he's just like myself, was my first Big Ten coordinator job was here, just like him. And so I just believe in, when you see those kinds of things done at the other places, that it takes those same principles to do it here.
As far as his salary goes, it was a very competitive salary as far as assistant coaches in the Big Ten. What kind of conversations went on with administration as far as making sure you had those resources available to attract higher quality talent?
I just think that it's a commitment to being able to, whether it's with our facilities here, that we're in the process of renovating with our new locker room, and with our strength staff, and when we went to go to bat for Dave Ballou and Dr. Ray, and be able to keep those guys here and to be able to restructure their contracts. And now a guy in his position to be able to sit down with Fred and just say, hey, this is, this is where the market is right now, and we want to go out and get the best, and we got to compete, and you got to, be able to step up. And Fred absolutely was 100% supportive of that, and trusted me to be able to say, this is the guy we believe in, this is the guy we've selected, and this is what we're going to need to do to get him. And so because the bottom line is that where he's coming from, they want him to stay, and they do everything they can to create a situation for him to do that, so that's the kind of guys you want, and you got to go back and forth, and it's not just a simple process, and you just you fight for what you want, and both here and with getting him, and that's part of us taking another step as a program in my mind, and being able to put ourselves in a position to say that we're going to, invest in this program, and it's a facility investment, it's a staff investment, and that's part of raising the bar for what I view is the importance of this football program at Indiana University, and which drew me here when I saw Fred Glass's vision, when he actually talked to me on the phone about coming here as the DC, and those same conversations now when I got, had Fred talk to Kalen on the phone as well in this process, to be able to show him that we're, committed and invested here to get this program where I believe it is going to be.
Do you know if the offensive staff is being retained, and if so, how important was that, in the hiring process to keep guys like Nick Sheridan and Mike Hart and Grant Hurd?
No question. Those are the guys that I brought here with me when I took over as head coach, and guys I believe in, and to be able to find a guy that wants to come here and fit in with those guys and lead them was very important for sure. But bottom line is that we got a lot of great coaches here, and guys that have worked extremely hard to help us recruit and to bring some really, really talented young men to Bloomington. And now we got to develop those guys, and those guys are all part of this, and we got a really, really talented offensive staff. And so I believe in those guys, and I know, Kalen is getting to know those guys in this process now. We will do so even more in the next few weeks, but he'll fit in great with them.
All right, thanks, Tom.
Well, it's an honor and pleasure to be here today. Thanks to Coach Allen for reaching out, and it's just been it's been a whirlwind. Can't wait to get my family out here, moving to Bloomington, and the staff's out on the road, as you know. Looking forward to getting in the room with those guys and building the relationships that Coach talks about, and getting to work. The players have stopped up periodically throughout the day. I could tell the excitement and see the excitement in their eyes and in their voices, and can't wait to get to work. So just great to be here, and I know how close we are to taking the next step in this program, and I'm looking forward to making an impact on that.
Hey, Mike Miller with the Bloomington Herald-Times. In Alan's few years here, he's talked a lot about relationships and how important that was to turning his defense around when he first got here. How do you do that on the offensive side? Is it relationships, and I guess to what extent do you go to foster those new relationships?
Yeah, and that in this profession, that's what it's all about, and that's why I coach. It's about the relationships that you can have with young men, and giving them the greatest experience they can have in their life, or one of the greatest experiences. Hopefully there's more to come beyond football. But I think we share the same philosophy that way. And, coming here and just, getting that opportunity to do it, it's exciting. What was the first part of your question?
Oh, just how do you go about
Oh. Yeah, and so to me, in order for me to ask everything out of them, I have to give the trust that they need too, and so the relationship that we have, I want to be able to walk in a room and be brutally honest with the guys, and then not have hard feelings about it. And that only comes with us working together, building the chemistry, having a common voice as a staff that the players believe in, and then that way, when they're on the field, they know that we're fighting the same battle together. It's not something, where there's the coaching staff and me and there's the players. We're all in this together. We all want the same thing. We all want a great season. We want a great team. We want a great program. It goes well beyond the years of us all being here. And so, that's to me what it's all about in building a great culture is the relationships that are a part of it.
And on the far right from that.
Coach. Ben Portnoy, Indiana Daily student. When you took the visit out here initially, Tom offers you the job. What struck you most about the program when you first got to Bloomington? What were your impressions when you came in?
Well, we had talked quite extensively, and so there was a lot that I knew about, where the program was at. But getting on campus and just seeing the facilities, I was really honestly blown away with them. And it's exciting to see the investment that Coach talks about that's been made here, with the facilities, and the guys have a great environment. It's a winning feel. It's a feel of winning that we're surrounded by. And then just as I met the staff, a few of them I had known, but I just became more and more impressed just with the all-in mindset that they have. The excitement they have towards the future and how close we are, and so those are probably the two things that really stuck out in my mind.
Coach Matt Weaver from Indiana 247. Coach Allen has talked about he wants a guy to be the head coach of the offense. Obviously, you have that in your background, but how nice is that to know you have that freedom? You kind of have, say so, and it's your side of the ball, and it kind of the buck stops with you, and you get to kind of run it how you want to do it.
Yeah, that's again a huge honor for me, and it's something I don't take lightly. Because the product on the field will be one thing, but how we do it will be another. And I want it done in a first-class way. Where when we go through the season, and go through this journey together as a staff, as a team. There's gonna be moments, throughout where we're gonna look back on, and there'll be highs and lows that we're all in together on. But when it's all said and done, we look back and you feel good about how you put it together. I think as a head coach, I'm not speaking for a coach, but I know what it's like when you see the final product and you win a championship and you look around and you see the smiling faces and you see the guys, excitement. You think back of how it all came together because everyone's coming from a different place. There's journeys that guys are on. I'm in a different part of my life and journey than, the incoming freshmen and, certain members of the staff. But we all have our journey that we're on, and bringing it all together is something special. And, the leadership part of it is critical towards, those memories being something that, you remember for the rest of your life.
Coach Sammy Jacobs with Hoosier Huddle. Welcome to IU, and how would you describe your offensive philosophy?
Yeah, well, it's going to be all revolved around what it takes to win, first of all. And, there's a fine line between excitement, right, and putting people in the stands and getting people excited about what we do offensively, and then, making sure we're not putting our team in a vulnerable position. But really what it comes down to offensively and as a team is creating more turnovers and, for us, taking care of the football and then having more explosives than your opponent. And when you do that, you're going to win over 90% of the time. And, we want to make sure we're putting the points on the board, but we're also not, so reckless that we're putting our defense in a vulnerable position. And so it's a team game that we're going to be a part of. We want to be a physical. The game was meant to be played one way when it really comes down to it, and that's physical. And so, a lot of people think that means running the football, but that's also what you do with the ball after you have it in your hands. Falling ahead for extra yards gives you better down and distances to work with, which makes it for better third down conversions and higher red zone, as we've been talking about here. But just create. In the end, it comes down to creating an attitude, and you don't install it with plays. A lot of plays are kind of cool, and guys like those, and they can feel it, and they know you're going to be big. But in the end, it's how you manipulate it and how you create the attitude that I think ends up with a product on the field that's exciting to watch.
Zach Osterman, Indianapolis Star. You've talked about it in kind of different ways, and I know it's early, but what are your maybe early impressions of the guys you've got to work with, and just sort of the tools that are going to be at your disposal? Again, I know it's early on in the process.
Yeah, it is. It is. I think just in general, I see a lot of young guys that have put some have put some time on the field already in game situations, and then there's some guys that are seniors. I know a few offensive linemen, a few skill guys, that want to make it happen now. and the urgency for them is high, and so that's something I think I've learned throughout the few moves is how to have that fine line to build a foundation that, prepares you for success years 2, years 2, 3, and 4, in building your system. But at this time right now, we want to win right now. And, I had the guys that have come up, a lot of them have been seniors because they understand the urgency of their career right now. And it coming to an end. And every day is one closer to, their last days wearing an IU football helmet. So really looking forward to, to giving those guys that experience.
Stu Jackson, Indiana Rivals. Just, you mentioned creating an attitude. What do you want that attitude to look like for this program on the field, on the offensive side of the ball?
Yep. And I can go into more, we want to be physical. We want to have explosive plays that should come off of, when you have a little bit of a run game I felt like that was one of the strengths this last year was, there was a consistent run game for the most part. You should be able to have some play action to go along with it. And, play action always doesn't have to be shots down the field, but it should open that up. And, we got some big receivers from what I've seen that can go up and get the football, and some guys that can get it down the field as well. So, that to me marries up pretty well. And then, just that aggressive, we want to have the ability to speed things up and play with some tempo. When you got them, or when it's the right time, or you need a little kickstart. There's a lot of different reasons why you do that. And so the ability to have some tempo. And then, I think if past tendencies kind of throughout the years for me, you see the intermediate pass game develop, as guys become more familiar with the system, understand, the route combinations better, the reads that I'm asking them to make, and just everyone's on the same page, the less drops because guys are thinking less. And so we're going to try to keep it simple, but we also want to be complex from the defensive side of things and how they look at us.
Coach, for two-part question. First, when did Coach Allen first reach out to you and start, kind of showing interest? And then secondly, obviously when you interview, you answer a lot of questions. What questions did you have for him about the job and what he was looking for from his OC?
Yeah, I think once Coach knew that Coach DeBoer was going to retire or wasn't going to be around here, I think that's when kind of we started the process and talking, and it certainly caught my attention, having a chance to be in the Big Ten, especially with Coach Allen, and just knowing what type of coach he is. You want to surround yourself with great people, and so that was a big part of it. And why? What was the second part of your question?
What questions did you have when you came in about what he was looking for, and just kind of what
Yep.
it would entail, and what kind of freedom you would have, and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I think just how close he thought we were. And not that I've been shy from going into rebuilding programs. Been at 2 places that were 1-11, before we got there. But I think that's the thing he really shared with me is how close he really feels in his heart that we are here to taking that next big jump. Bowl games and being a team in the Big Ten that everyone's got to be worried about. Every single week. So I think that the defensive piece, he's been a strong part of that. And he's spoke a lot about that part of it, but also just like he said, trying to find that head coach on offense to come in and bring the staff together. And I feel like that's something that, is a strength of mine, is coming and bringing a staff together, bringing people together, personalities and all of that. And I, on the side, this doesn't answer your question, but something that I'm looking forward to with this staff is the ability to learn myself. I consider myself a lifelong learner, and this is part of my journey. And I know there's some master coaches on this staff that know a lot of football, and there's a lot of different ways to do things in a great way. And adding, bringing what I have and adding what they can bring to it, and their experiences. It just makes me better. It makes us better. I'm really looking forward to that, that time with them.
Coach, you mentioned Tom's obviously talked about wanting you to be the head coach on offense. How do you think that maybe your experience as a head coach at the NAIA level fits into that mold?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does. It does. Because I think what really, when you're a head coach, you take a different perspective on things. It's all about winning and the experience that you're giving your guys, you know. And so, you know, that's the outlook I've had ever since then. And, you know, the stats come along with the success, but it's not like I'm going out there to put up just these crazy stats. It's about winning football games and, you know, getting guys to just, when they leave this program and they're alumni, they have just a ton of pride about what they accomplished and where the program's going. And you know, I think that's just, I think it's more of just a general perspective you have once you've been a head coach. That, and then, you know, it's about still again bringing staff together. You know, the staff when you're a head coach that you're bringing together is much greater than the staff you're bringing, but it's how we work together along with the defense. I think that, you know, is seen by the players, at least felt by the players. If there's a relationship between offense and defensive staff that's solid and great and positive, okay, I think you have that relationship amongst the players offensively and defensively on the team as well. They sense it. They know how it is, even if it's behind the scenes, you know, good or bad. So I think that's a big part of us working together, and I think that's probably, you know, one of the things, you know, when you talk about head coach of the offense, that's I think one of the things that's important.
Cameron Drummond, Indiana Daily student. You talked about there being, you know, different journeys for both the players and other coaches on this staff. I guess for yourself, why is, you know, this the right job for you in this part of your journey, and like what from your journey to this point has allowed you to, you know, be comfortable in taking a Power 5 job like this, relocating from one end of the country to the other?
Right. Well, as far as geography goes, I'm from the Midwest. I'm from South Dakota, lived in Southern Illinois, lived up in Michigan. This is kind of like right in between, you know, those two stops. And so coming out here, you know, it's exciting. It's another place for my family to see. It's a place that I've heard nothing but great things about here in Bloomington. And so, you know, fired up about that. But, you know, the journey for me and why I'm coming here, I think that, you know, the Big Ten Challenge, you know, just like a player wants to compete at the highest level, you want to get to that highest level and you know, show what you can do, prove it to yourself, prove it to others, whatever it might be. But you want those challenges. I think once you become complacent, you know, that's when things start going the wrong way. And so the challenge is exciting to me, you know, and then the other part of it is I just know I'm surrounded by great people. You know, I know that's the type of people Coach Allen's looking for on a staff, knowing some of them. I know that that's the case, and looking forward to just, you know, when you're around good people and you enjoy going to work every day, that's a big deal because we put too many hours into this job. If where it's the other way, it would be miserable. And that's what I've been fortunate to do every stop along the way is be around good people and enjoy my job. And then the production is a result of, you know, what you put into it. And I've been able to put a lot into it because I love it.
I think it was on a radio interview on Thursday that you mentioned part of the, I guess, inspiration that you draw on as far as taking some of these opportunities that you have across your career has been that, you know, you bet on yourself essentially. I guess, where does that mindset come from, or, you know, where did that develop, I guess?
Yeah, I'm probably just a small town guy, you know, that, you know, just small town guy that, you know, just why are you doing this and why are you going here? And I mean, the college I chose to go to was 2-8. You know, the year before I got there, or excuse me, the first year I was there, I think it was somewhere around there before that. But when we left, we were national champions, you know, and we were 6-4 my first year as a coordinator, you know, and built that program up to be in 10 years later, you know, another, you know, 3 more national championships. So I just think that, you know, it's got to be in you, you know, that you're not going to back down, that you love to compete, that you're going to keep fighting. It's just got to be who you are. And, you know, in the end, I'm happy with if I know I've given everything I've got, I can live with the results. And so, you know, that's what the players are going to get from me. That's what the staff's going to get from me. They're going to get everything I have. And I've always just felt like you live with the results and you believe that you have enough to get it done. You have what it takes. And so, you know, that's just kind of how I've lived throughout my entire life.
We'll wrap it up with Matt.
Coach, you mentioned obviously you've been at SIU in Eastern Michigan here in the Midwest, and then out west, excuse me, with Fresno State. As far as your recruiting connections, I know it's about building relationships, but what are some of the areas where you've kind of recruited heavily and where you kind of you feel like you have your strongest ties?
Yeah, I mean, Chicago, Chicago was an area that I had for eight years up there, into Illinois, and then obviously over into Michigan with our success and getting to know people there. That'd probably be the strongest. Did it a little bit down in Nashville, right at the end of my Southern Illinois, time. So, but I think Chicago is the strongest area, in Northern Illinois. So,
All right, thanks, Kalen.
you bet. Thank you. Appreciate
This
it.
will be on ASAP.